La Obra Hispana, Dios me los bendiga. Les saluda el pastor Samuel Ramírez. Y le voy a decir por qué me tengo que identificar como Samuel Ramírez, porque hoy tenemos a otro pastor que se llama Samuel Robles, que es de base de bendición poder hablar con él esta mañana. Algunos de ustedes ya lo conocen, han escuchado de él, lo han escuchado predicar, han escuchado acerca de muchos proyectos que él tiene ahorita llevando a cabo. Alguien que ha sido de mucha bendición para nosotros, para diferentes partes dentro de la denominación en diferentes momentos. Dirigió por muchos años a los jóvenes en las diferentes asambleas, al nivel hispano, también al nivel general. Ha estado bien activo en muchas partes y hoy tenemos el privilegio de poder hablar con Sammy Robles y en algunos minutos lo vamos a introducir, escuchar qué es lo que ha estado haciendo él y catch up, como decimos, catch up en todo lo que está pasando en la vida de él. Recuérdense que este programa siempre se lo traemos con el propósito de inspirar, de empoderar y ayudar a toda la obra hispana para poder seguir adelante. Reciban saludos de nuestra pastora nacional, pastora Lori Tapia. Ella anunció de que ella tuvo una cirugía. Les extraña. Hemos podido estar en contacto con ella y nos dice que les comunique que los extraña, los ama, sigue orando por ustedes. Y nosotros como Obra Hispana la vamos a tener y mantener en oración para que su recuperación sea rápida y saludable. Seguimos orando por su esposo, Pastor Martín, y toda la familia Tapia. Seguimos orando por la familia, creyendo de que Dios nos está fortaleciendo. Pero Pastor Lori, yo sé que ella nos va a ver, la amamos, la queremos. We love you, we miss you, la extrañamos y esperamos de que pronto esté con nosotros. Pero también el hecho de que ella no está aquí, sí me mandó una lista de cosas que quiere que yo les comunique a ustedes. Y primero es la asamblea. Si usted recuerda, hemos estado anunciando acerca de la asamblea y la asamblea, hermanos, ya está abierta la registración. La registración ya está abierta para cada uno de nosotros. Usted puede ir a la página de la Obra Hispana donde nosotros vamos a ver la registración. No nos hemos reunido desde el 2018 y en la última reunión que tuvimos en diciembre, la Junta entendió de que es tiempo de tomar esos pasos para reunirnos. Las fechas ya han estado en el calendario por mucho tiempo, pero también tomamos en cuenta algunas cosas, como siempre lo hacemos, es el costo. Mire, esta asamblea va a ser una de las asambleas que tiene el costo más bajo para que todos nosotros podemos participar y estar presentes en esa asamblea. Queremos decirle de que va a ser una asamblea de mucha bendición, va a haber predicación, enseñanzas, música, va a ser un tiempo para toda la familia. Y queremos, por favor, que usted se pueda conectar a la Obra Hispana y empezar a registrarse para nuestra asamblea de este año 2022. No se lo pierda. Sabemos de que todavía pueden haber algunas preocupaciones. Créame, estamos tratando de tomar lo más que podamos en cuenta para asegurar una asamblea que sea alegre, que sea de bendición para usted y que sea de bendición para todos nosotros. Entonces, en el chat estaremos poniendo el link para que usted reciba más información y reciba toda la información que usted necesita para nuestra asamblea que estará pasando en este año, en el mes de julio, en Texas. Le recordamos de eso también. También les queremos decir a todas las personas que están interesados en lo que es el evento Exponential. Exponential en español es un evento que sucede cada año y este año va a llevarse a cabo en Orlando en el mes de mayo 13 al 14. Y nosotros hemos podido participar dentro de lo que es Exponential ya por el segundo o tercer año. Y en este caso hemos puesto también unas becas para algunas personas que tienen o están interesadas en ir al evento de Exponential en Orlando. Tenemos 25 espacios reservados y lo que tienen que hacer si usted desea participar en Exponential es enviar un correo a la Oficina Nacional Somos Uno at cpohm, lo vamos a poner también en los comentarios, y usted puede seguir ese email, decirnos, hey, me interesa estar en Exponential 2022. Y podemos asegurar su espacio. Tenemos la oportunidad de ver a nuestra pastora participar en este evento otra vez más. El año pasado lo tuvimos aquí en el sur de California, y déjeme decirle, tuvimos una buena asistencia y presencia dentro de lo que es la obra hispana. Las iglesias de este lado del país pudieron estar, y tuvimos una buena presencia. Pudimos apoyar a nuestra pastora en el tiempo donde ella predicaba, enseñaba, traía la palabra del Señor, y creemos de que también en este tiempo, en el mes de mayo, Dios la va a usar para traer la palabra que no solamente la obra hispana necesita, sino todas las iglesias, todos los pastores, todas las pastores, todos los líderes van a necesitar. So, puede enviar ese correo al correo de la obra hispana, donde luego usted puede decir, me interesa, y poder reservar su espacio para estar ahí. Para las convenciones que están ahí, aprovechen de que esto está sucediendo en su área. Es de mucha bendición, y yo sé que Dios los va a bendecir, los va a llenar con mucha información para sus congregaciones. So, les recordamos, asamblea al nivel de la nacional de nosotros, nos reunimos en Texas, la registración está abierta, y también en el mes de mayo están teniendo Exponential Español en Orlando. So les enviamos esa información, y le estaremos dando más información en nuestros comentarios. Pero esta mañana también le queremos dar la bienvenida a un muchacho, aunque tiene un poco de gris. You know, he's a little gray under the chin, tiene un poco de gris. Todavía es un muchacho que Dios lo ha bendecido, que Dios lo está usando, que Dios sigue bendiciendo de una gran manera. El pastor y reverendo Sammy Robles. Man, I'm so glad you're here. Estoy tan contento que estás aquí, man. We love you. You know, y amamos a tu familia también. Pero thank you for being here. And anything, man. ¿Cómo te quieres introducir con los hermanos que tal vez no te conocen?
Sí, claro. Dios te bendiga, hermanos y hermanas. Soy Samuel Roble. Estoy en Orlando, Florida. It is very cool to be on with all of you. Sam is a brother. He's cool. And I know muchos de ustedes saben eso, que Sam is just an awesome guy, a great father, a great pastor, and estar aquí es una bendición, bro. So this is great. I'm just happy to be here, man. Let's have a good time, huh?
You know, y nosotros hablamos, we didn't know cuando sucedió esto, que Pastor tuvo que tener este proceso, you know, kind of really fast. No sabíamos nosotros, yo no sabía que you were going to be here, but hablamos una semana antes. So it's been about 2 weeks. Y dentro de esa plática pudimos hablar de diferentes temas. Because your life, tu vida en los últimos años has gone through a lot of processes, ha pasado muchos procesos. Lo lindo que I know that you know y que todos sabemos es de que dice la Biblia y de que todo obra para nuestro bien. So no solamente eres un pastor, pero también eres un plantador de iglesia, eres un creativo. Trabajaste en la iglesia, y luego también trabajas en Disneyland, pero then you're an author, es un autor, tiene un libro que vamos a hablar de eso. I know, man, you've done a lot of things, y Dios lo ha estado bendiciendo, pero one of the things que hablamos, Sammy, es de que en medio de todo este proceso, todo lo que ha llevado a cabo en los últimos años, comenzó con una realización, a realization of something in your life, you know, que llegaste a un punto donde te sentiste cansado. And talk to us about that, porque a veces, sometimes no tomamos en cuenta, or we're not as aware of how tired we are. Y cómo fue ese proceso para ti, y luego, ¿qué es lo que te ayudó? And from there, how everything has just been going on, todo lo que ha pasado después de eso.
Yeah, man. Bueno, en 2009, mi esposa y yo empezamos una obra, Arise Christian Church, and I was here in Orlando. We had this amazing vision of just being this bilingual church in Orlando. We were just moving from Indiana. I had just graduated from Christian Theological Seminary. Hilda was working in la oficina pastoral, and we transitioned right from there to Orlando. So when we started, it was just her and I. There were no kids. It was just her and I, and we took off, and everything was great. ¿Qué pasó? Empezamos girl number one, and then girl number two, and then girl number three, right? So our family grew, which is beautiful. Yeah. That was beautiful. It's just our family was growing. I was full-time con la iglesia también. Yo estaba trabajando in Disney como músico. I'm in entertainment. I'm a drummer. And then I was doing school, and just things started layering. And everything was fine until you can only take so much. Now, let me give a timeout porque algo de los discípulos de Cristo es que we talk a lot about self-care. I think the disciples do an amazing job of it. So, en mi mente yo tengo like all these tools and all these things and putting the best practices that I could put into place that I knew. So, cogiendo un Sabbath, I trying my hardest to do that. Family time, self-time. I had people pouring into my life, Sammy, make sure you're doing this. Sammy, make sure. So I was trying the best that I could with the tools that I had and the resources that I had. And it just got to a point, bro, that I didn't realize that I was sick. And when I say realize, estamos hablando, la iglesia empezó en 2009, ya como, I can't even tell you when, bro, like 2000, maybe 18, 19, maybe I started feeling it was starting to get a little tough. It might have been before and I didn't know. Mm-hmm. Let me be honest. There might have been symptoms I was just unaware of. Pero también mi esposa lo estaba sintiendo también, ¿no? Que we're a team. And she was feeling it too. And she realized well before me that a change needed to happen. It was hard for me. Pastores, ustedes saben, it's hard to let go, especially when you have such a heart for people and to serve God and God's people is hard. So it took me a lot longer to realize that, Sammy, there's, you gotta look yourself in the mirror again.
Yeah.
And so long story short, my blood pressure got out of whack, ended up going to the hospital, and I'm there in the emergency room. And the doctor walks in and I'm there like on the bed, I'm just lying down, freaking out, because I'm like, what am I doing here,
With your robe, your whole back exposed.
Yeah, man, I'm all messed up. And I'm like, what am I doing here? And she comes in and she folds her arms, bro, just like this, and looks down at me. Like I got in trouble. Like papao type stuff, So I'm there and she looks at me and she goes, you have to do things that bring you joy.
Wow.
And my eyes open and I'm like, you a pastor or you a doctor? Because that pierced me hard. And she's like, you're not supposed to be here. That was it. And I knew I had to change something. And then Hilda and I had hard conversations. And we decided, you know what? It's been 11 years, 10 years that we had been there at the church, and said we need to start a transition. And that was the end of 2019. We didn't know that there was a pandemic coming. Yeah. Nobody knew.
Yeah.
And we had let the church know. We started that transition, and then the pandemic hit. And then I stayed a little longer to help get all the stuff ready for them. And then I transitioned out. And that's when I realized I was sick, was when I left. Because everything I suppressed that I thought I dealt with started coming out. And that's when I realized that, wow, Sammy, you pushed too hard, harder than what you thought. You thought you were doing something the best that you could. There was just some things I missed, right? I guess. Yeah. So stuff started coming out. I had to deal with stuff. And it's been a 2-year journey where I'm just feel like I'm myself again. I felt like I lost a lot of who I am. I lost a lot of the things that made me who God created me to be. And I felt like a lot of that was lost. And I'm at a place, bro, like I think I told you on the phone, I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
me siento bien, man. Like, I feel good again. Like, I got my energy back. And I know, Sam, you didn't have to, I know. But, I feel good, bro. Like, I'm getting back to that place. And that's where the book came out. It was the creativity bug, the energy came back. And I'm like, yo, I have a whole list of things I want to accomplish in life that I had to put to the side. And I said, no, let's go. And it was coming back to me, man. And I started feeling myself again. And I just didn't know, man. I just didn't know.
And I think that, algo que dice Sammy es, que a veces como líderes, como pastores, padres, madres, no sentimos todo lo que cargamos.
Claro.
Porque estamos yendo tal vez por las emociones. We're going through the motions, es decir, estamos corriendo, y nunca, o estamos siempre preocupados por las otras personas, asegurar de que ellos estén bien, que nuestros hijos estén bien, que nuestros esposos, esposas estén bien, que el ministerio, que la iglesia, que, whatever lo que tengamos en nuestras manos estén bien, pero no podemos hacer lo mejor para ellos cuando nosotros estamos enfermos. We can't do the best for others when we're sick. Y es siempre algo que me encantó cuando hablábamos con Sammy, no ahorita, because right now, ustedes están catching up una conversación que tuvimos hace 2 semanas, que me encantó, es de estar atento a lo que está pasando internamente. Porque uno puede estar diciendo, pues estoy sirviendo, está diciendo cosas para el Señor, sin entender de que eso también puede afectarnos. It can affect us. So, de vivir una vida balanceada, of taking the time, pero más que todo estar aware o estar viendo cómo uno se siente. Algo that you said en la conversación que tuvimos es de que you're a creative person. Eres una persona creativa. And you've always been creative. I've always loved that about you, que siempre has sido alguna persona creativo. Aún cuando llegaste a tener a Rise Christian Church, one of the things que we loved about your church, que amábamos de la iglesia y amamos de la iglesia, era tu creatividad. Pero en el proceso, when we talked 2 weeks ago, dijiste, man, yo perdí mi creatividad. Te sentiste como, man, no, so una persona creativa no puede crear. And that was hard. Pero ¿cómo ha sido el proceso ahora? Now that you're saying I'm at a better place, have you seen that creativity come out? ¿Has visto esa creatividad salir? ¿Cómo has manejado esa creatividad en otros proyectos? How have you moved that creativity to other projects?
Yeah. Pues, ¿cuándo fue? En diciembre de 2020. Pastor Mark Batterson, un pastor en Washington, D.C., escribió un libro que se llama Win the Day. And I had followed Mark Batterson for years. You talk about exponential. I love exponential, by the way. I love exponential. Even if you're not a church planner, to me, it's one of the greatest conferences out there because the energy, oh my gosh, and the speakers, amazing. So the fact that Pastora is part of that, that's like mega, like awesome. So el Pastor Mark Batterson escribió el libro Win the Day, and I get a copy, and that was the book that did it, because I had to, para los Star Wars fans out there, a little bit of Yoda, you have to like unlearn what you've learned, and I had to reconstruct myself. Y con este libro Win the Day, it was about taking your 24 hours, and that's it. Don't worry about anything else. What are you gonna do in that 24 hours? Okay, that's done. Let's focus on the next 24. Yo soy un visionary. You say muchos ustedes pastores, we're visionaries. That's a part of what we do. So yo siempre estoy pensando en el futuro, right? ¿Qué va a pasar la semana que viene? ¿Qué va a pasar el año que viene? ¿Qué va a pasar 5 años de, all this stuff, vision casting. Yo, I had to figure out 24 hours first. And I had to relearn that I had to rebuild myself. So this book helped me focus on step by step. And I know this sounds como cliche, Sam, but it literally was what did it for me. I had to rebuild myself step by step. And I had to regain. And then when I started going through that book, and every day I just read a little, bro, un poquito, cada día. Yo no estaba leyendo mucho at a time. I went like 2 pages at a time, rebuilding myself. Boom. Okay, let me focus on that. Next day. All right, let me read 2 more pages. Boom, let me focus on that. It took me a couple of months because I was going that slow. Because gracias al Señor que el foundation was there. You know what I'm saying? The foundation was there, but I had to rebuild again, bro. And so I had to go day by day, 24 hours by 24 hours. And by the time I was done, I was like, oh, okay, God, you did something in me. Something happened in going little by little. And I kid you not, it's as simple as that, bro. For me, that's as simple as it was. And then I started letting, messages pour into me, and spiritual discipline started shaping me. And I started to rest more. And, the pandemic kind of helped with that. But, all these things and taking advantage and just rebuilding myself. And then I became me again. If anything, maybe it's really not me again. Maybe it's a new me, but I kind of like this me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But it's as simple as that, bro. And so when the day did it for me, and I looked at every day as a victory. Cada día was like, okay, how can I feel good about today? Cuando yo voy a dormir esta noche, ¿cómo voy a sentir? Am I going to feel good? Am I going to feel upset? Am I going to be disappointed, or am I going to be satisfied? And it was as simple as that, bro. Every day. Okay. How do I feel? Okay, I feel good. Let's go. Boom. I would sleep. Next day, wake up. 24. I mean, it was a cycle, bro. Just a cycle. And it did it for me. And I praise God for that, because I was at a bad place. At a bad place. So win the day.
Yeah, no, it's a good book. So I don't really have it in Spanish, pero es ganar el día. Maybe they do. I don't know. No sé.
Yeah, I don't know.
Pero, but if not, we can translate it, then we get royalties. And
do it, bro. Let's do it. Vamos, let's go. Dale.
Pero, one of the things that we talked about era también that even though que te moviste de ser un pastor de iglesia, you were still working. Todavía estás trabajando en lo que secular, we can say, fuera del contexto de congregación. Pero algo que me dijiste es de que me encuentro haciendo ministerio aún mucho más en el marketplace, donde yo trabajo. ¿Por qué? Porque estás trabajando con personas que, they're entertainers, son personas que trabajan, y en esas conversaciones te dicen, man, Sammy, yo estoy lidiando con esto. Y te encuentras ministrando mucho más personas que tal vez nunca llegarían a una iglesia, pero there where you work, en el trabajo, tú puedes traer esa esperanza, esa alegría, the hope that they need. How has that been experienced? ¿Cómo ha sido esa experiencia? Porque muchas veces la gente puede pensar, no, el ministerio lo hacemos dentro de la iglesia, dentro de las reuniones de la congregación, o solamente con la gente de la congregación, pero hacer el ministerio es wherever we go, donde sea que vamos. And how has that experience been for your life?
Everything you said is exactly right. I feel like I'm doing ministry more than I did before. Si tú y yo salimos al cine o salimos a un, to see a comedian o algo así, ¿verdad? Nos sentamos, pagamos un ticket because we're going to be entertained, right? Nos vamos a reír, vamos a llorar because alguien está haciendo algo y nos sentimos bien. It's entertainment. Yo pongo el televisor y whatever. Cuando eso is done, esa gente que made us laugh, muchos de ellos son broken. Depresión, ansiedad. You go through the list, substance abuse, all this stuff. Not everyone, but you'd be surprised how many people that make us feel like when we're doing self-care, those people need self-care, and there's so much brokenness, right? So what's happened is I've changed my language. Dr. Brian Russell from Asbury Theological Seminary helped me with this. I was always using the term bivocational, ¿verdad? Siempre usamos eso. There's nothing wrong with it. Pero lo que pasa conmigo era que I looked at the word bi like if it was like a line. So yo estoy haciendo ministerio y después I stop y empiezo el trabajo secular. So it was like two worlds, right? Yo estoy predicando el domingo y después el lunes yo empiezo a tocar, drums. That wore me out because I had to change hats. It was bouncing around and I felt like, I had to follow me. It was like being a different person and that's not me. So then he introduced me to co-vocational and that's been a new word for me. Y eso yo digo, pero Brian, explícame qué es la diferencia de bivocational y co-vocational. He goes, pues, Sammy, you know, if we look at bi and it's like two different worlds, co is like they're together. You're the same person wherever you go. And that's been a new idea for me. And it's hard. It's hard. But it's been the new idea for me. That's what helps me, bro. I don't look como si yo voy al trabajo. Yo no veo eso como que, oh, yo tengo que hacer eso porque, pero este domingo yo tengo que predicar y tengo que cambiar. No. Sin embargo, I'm going to go there and entrar a ese edificio el domingo, the same person. And that's hard, but that's what I attempt to do. So basically, como decimos en inglés, what you see is what you get. And that's what I try to give. Now, the accountability is high, right? We have to talk about integrity. We have to talk about, different things that matter in the marketplace, because in the snap of a finger, someone who doesn't know Christ is looking at you porque saben que tú eres pastor, and they're waiting for you to do something wrong. Y that's it. Yeah. So that's true. Pero también the reverse is true. There are people that are so lonely. They need people that, mira.
Say it.
And that's exactly what I'm saying is this. This, bro, they just need someone to hear them because they're so broken. And so what I find myself doing, to the point que yo estoy haciendo ministerio como que I feel more, is that ministry of presence. Samuel Wells is this Episcopal priest, bro. He rocks my world because he talks about incarnational, not just incarnational theology, but he talks about the difference between incarnational ministry and incarnational mission. So he talks about incarnational ministry for the church, incarnational ministry for everything else, and differentiating when we talk about the incarnation, when we talk about missional theology or incarnational ministry. So, or theology. So my brain, I'm going, incarnational ministry is being in the same room where everything happens, when the brokenness happens, when all that happens, that you're already there. Que no te van a llamar, en 2 días para decirte, mira, pastor, esto sucedió. No, yo estoy ahí when it happens. And it's the ministry of presence. And it's, para ustedes que saben Hamilton, it's in the room where it happens, the room where it happens. It's about being in the room where it happens and when it happens. And that's where I find myself a lot of the times is that ministry of presence. And then this rocks my world, bro. I think you're going to dig this because every time I think about this, it rocks my world. Samuel Wells dice que cuando predicamos, cuando vamos tú sabes, el ministerio de Jesús, we're always looking really at 3 years of his life, right? Lo milagro, the healing, all the stuff. But he goes, what happens to the other 30 years? So he goes, he wrote a book called the Nazareth Manifesto, because he says the other 30 years are just as important as the 3 that we preach about, if not more. And even though we don't have a lot of information, we have enough to know that Jesus was with the people. And he says Jesus was shoulder to shoulder with the people. Jesus was walking the streets like just a normal dude. Yeah. And he talks about thinking of Jesus in the 30 years of life prior to his ministry and how much of an impact that could have been because he's just with. Bro, boom. I started saying, what does it mean for me to just be with, to be shoulder to shoulder with someone? Let me put the credentials to the side for a minute. Let me put all the training for the side. Let me just be with. What does that look like? What does that feel like? Not just for the person, but for me. Bro, that's been rocking my world. So, te digo todo eso to answer your question. Cuando yo digo que estoy haciendo ministerio like more than before, is because I'm with more. I'm in the room where it happens more. I am doing things alongside more. I'm more of at times a chaplain. I'm less of a preacher. Sometimes I do need to preach, not that I am forcing it, but sometimes people invite me to it, and they ask me, Sammy, tell me something. I need to hear something. All right, you gave me the green light. Let's go. So, it's being attentive to how the Spirit moves in awkward places. Awkward the way we pastors say awkward. You know, I think I have fallen into the trap of thinking that God's Holy Spirit can't dwell in certain places. And that's just how I was raised and taught. And I've been amazed to find God working in the most unexpected places when I was told, you know, pues, tú sabes, hay tanto pecado ahí, pues, you know, el Señor no está. And I'm thinking, si alguien ya está, like the heart is already getting messed up and they're seeking something, I want to say that maybe God is already stirring something in them. Maybe, I don't know. You know, and it's like, you know, Samuel Wells, I'm going to paraphrase. He says, there's people that already know God and there's people that don't know that they already know God because their heart is searching for God. I know that sounded weird, but it's basically like this awareness that people don't even know that their heart is seeking for God, even though they don't live for God. I don't know if that made any sense.
No. I mean,
but
I
that
think
tenderness,
that,
¿verdad? Como que el Señor ya está obrando y está trabajando. They're not there yet, but something is already happening.
You know what? I think that you touch on a lot of good points. Uno es que dentro de nosotros tenemos que ver de que nuestro ministerio es, no estoy hablando de solamente el ministerio pastoral, right? So estamos hablando del ministerio en el servir, en el contexto de servicio, el ministrar a las personas. Tenemos la oportunidad de hacer eso todos los días, en todos los lugares que vamos. So, cuando entendemos eso, es, donde sea que nosotros vayamos, porque aquí están viendo no solamente pastores y pastoras, estamos hablando líderes, young people. There's some young people that are watching as well. So, jóvenes, laicos, personas que tal vez ni tienen títulos dentro de la congregación. Ustedes son tan importantes en el lugar donde ustedes trabajan. ¿Por qué? Porque ahí ustedes pueden hacer el ministerio, que es decir, demostrar lo que Jesús mostró a la gente, right? De no esperar a decir, well, lo vamos a hacer cuando hay servicios o esto y lo otro, sino decir, en este momento que Dios está moviendo, you know, ¿qué puedo hacer? So, estoy dejando a mis hijos a la escuela y conozco de una mamá that's going through something. Ahí es el tiempo de ministrar. No decirle, hey, pues te invito a la iglesia. No, right there. Tú puedes traerle esperanza. Tú puedes traerle alegría. Decirle, aquí estamos contigo. The other thing is que me encanta es cuando uno está en el ministerio, en el trabajo, the marketplace, no creamos de que somos invisibles, right? Porque a veces pensamos, no, pues solo en la iglesia yo soy reconocido como esto, como lo otro, como diácono, como anciano, como worship leader, como pastor, como pastora. No eres invisible de lunes a viernes. Eres bien visible en el lugar donde trabajas. And you're absolutely right. Gente quiere ver la fe, lo que proclamamos en acciones.
Yes.
You know, and be there and just being present with people is so amazing, man. And I know that it's interesting, trabajas en Disney, pero aún en Disney, the world's happiest place, there's sadness. Y hay traumas, y hay depresión y tristeza. But it's good to know que tenemos gente that loves people and wants to share the gospel of people, man. But yeah, so hermanos, hermanas, man, si usted se está conectando ahorita, está entrando en una conversación que comenzó con el pastor Sammy Robles, donde él nos está compartiendo su vida, el momento donde él reconoció de que necesitaba tiempo para conectarse, descubrir otra vez más. Estamos hablando ahorita cómo es que él hace el ministerio, dónde trabaja y cómo es que todos nosotros podemos hacer el trabajo donde nosotros trabajamos, el ministerio donde trabajamos. ¿Por qué? Porque el ministerio no está limitado a cierto lugar, a cierto horario, sino todos los días tenemos la oportunidad de ministrar a las personas. The other thing is, dentro de este proyecto, you move your ministry, cambiaste tu ministerio de un lugar central a un lugar más amplio, which is the marketplace, pero también en este proceso, you became an author, te convertiste en un autor. You know, y el screen que tienes, la pantalla que tienes atrás, nos da el libro y ya está promoviendo sus camisetas, su libro también. So, you know, hey, tenemos que promoverlo, pero háblanos acerca de tu libro. What does it mean? What does it mean? What is the title? Y por qué es tan especial y por qué sentiste you felt like you needed to write this?
En 2018 yo estaba cogiendo un curso del doctorado en Asbury y el curso era sobre la predicación, pero si no, just like preaching, era narrative preaching. Y el profesor, brilliant, se paró enfrente de los estudiantes, había como, I don't know, 20. Yeah, we were like 20 people. Y empezó a predicar, pero sin papel, sin iPad, sin nada. And he was speaking like if he was in the story. Y yo estoy ahí escuchando, y en este momento yo estoy en un show en Disney que I had to do some acting, right? So now I'm intrigued because my man is acting.
Yeah, yeah.
But this is a preaching class. Follow me. Because I know when you hear preaching and acting and entertainment, no one likes those words together, but follow me. So he's over there and I'm going, what is he doing? And he starts doing what I later learned to be first person narrative.
Absolutely.
Preaching, right? Boom, like my brain, like you got me, bro. Like he could have done anything he wanted with me at that time because I was going to take all the knowledge, bro. Like I'm just like in it because he was resonating with me. Remember, I'm a creative, I'm an entertainer, I'm doing all stuff. And he's doing that while he's preaching the word.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, you could do that? So blows my mind. And we do this exercise and my brain is going. And I go to the small letter in the New Testament, Philemon, that Paul wrote to Philemon. And in this letter is a slave called Onesimus, right? So because he's now messed up my brain in a good way to read the Bible more like on the ground level, because yo soy bien about exegesis. I love exegesis, right? But now what he's done to me is that instead of drawing out, he basically took me downstairs, and instead of like the drawing out, now I'm looking around in the story. And everyone I'm reading about, I can now see because he's already trained me to like read in the context of looking around the room. Bro, it's like the Bible is metaverse, bro. It was already, you know what I'm saying? And this was already an NFT, bro. Like it was insane, dog. Like, so I'm looking around, I'm looking around. So now I start reading the story and now Onesimus stands out to me. And he doesn't say a word.
Absolutely.
And then I don't know why. It is just the way the Bible is so amazing, bro. Like all of a sudden it hit me. Philemon is a slave owner. And all this stuff started, it just hit me different. All that to say is I fell in love with this guy named Onesimus because my imagination was going, what's going on in his mind? That he's the topic of this conversation. He ran away for some reason. He did something wrong. And then he finds Paul. And then Paul is in jail. And I'm like, how does Paul have so much power in jail, right? Like these are questions. And I'm going, how is it Onesimus finds Paul? And then Paul writes this letter. And then he gives him the letter and tells him, go back. And I'm going, who does that? Who goes back to their problems? Who goes back to the house they ran away from? Who goes back? I mean, he ran away from that house from Philemon for a reason. And now he's going back. Like, who does that? And those were the questions. And then there's a verse that I think it's like verse 11 and 12. I'm going to paraphrase these two verses where he's like, I'm sending him back to you. And I'm going, what an amazing moment. Like, this is not a verse you and I preach from, bro. Like, this is not a Sunday text that it's not even something you put on Instagram or Facebook, like word of the day. I'm sending him back to you. Word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Like, you don't do that with this verse, bro. So sorry, I'm getting all animated because I'm fired up, dog.
No, like I love that story because it's one of those stories that you realize, man, you know what? Grace is so amazing.
Oh my
God.
God.
Like it's so we all need grace. But go ahead. Talk to us about that,
you're exactly right, bro. So it's like, this is a story about a guy who has to go back to the house, mind you, what we would call a Christian household. And that's one of the questions I raise in the book is, why didn't Onesimus find Christ in that house church? And why did he have to leave and find a locked up Paul to find Christ? Now that's a conversation question. I'm not giving an answer. I'm saying we got to talk about some of this stuff. So So anyway, he has to go back. And in that little section that says, I'm sending him back to you, is where this story takes place. What's going on in Onesimus's mind? What could he be thinking about? You know, what is he replaying? Is he scared? Is he nervous? Does he feel any different now? Because when he left, he didn't know Christ, and now he knows Christ. And the book lives there. And that first section is a first person narrative. And it's him kind of talking to himself. And it's weird to say that, but I'm gonna speak on behalf of all the silent pastors right now. You ready? How many of us talk to ourselves when no one's looking? Because we're so broken. You know what I'm saying? And we think we're crazy. And sometimes I go play basketball and I shoot and I'm telling myself, yo, Sammy, get your act together. You know, and I'm like talking to myself, like, you got to make this. And I know that sounds silly, but there's this sense of, you know, no one sees us behind the curtain most of the time. And behind the curtain is a human being, a man or a woman, who just may be struggling with something. And I wanted Onesimus to kind of represent that sense of asking themselves questions. Man, did I do something wrong? Did I do this wrong? Could I have handled this better? Could that meeting have gone better? Could I have been a stronger leader? Could I have empowered better? And all these questions we ask ourselves. And let me tell you, to connect this with what happened in my burnout, the one question that I struggle with, Sam, bro, and I'm going to be honest, bro, is feeling like I was going to fail God if I left the church. And I felt horrible. And it haunted me, bro. It haunted me because I'm like, you know, el Señor me llamó. Esta es la iglesia del Señor. Yo soy el pastor, pero esta es la iglesia del Señor, pero el Señor me llamó aquí. You know, you start hearing all the sermons that fire you up, and none of them are working. Because I'm like, am I going to fail God, bro? And then my friend down in Miami, I'm talking to him, and he says, God ain't going to get mad at you for taking care of your first ministry, which is you and your family. And I'm like, you know, here I am, a pastor, and I'm going, God's not going to be mad at me? Like, you don't think he's going to be mad at me? He's like, he can't get mad at you, bro. Family first. I wanted Onesimus to represent me and so many other people that go through those battles of asking themselves questions and finding reassurance that no matter what the future holds, the fact that we know Christ is good enough.
Yeah.
And that alone is good enough. That Onesimus could not control what was going to happen when he got back. We don't know what happened. We don't know if Philemon got mad and had him killed because, boom, you broke the law. We don't know if he accepted him because Paul says accept him. We assume that maybe Philemon accepted him and maybe set him free. That's the hope and prayer. And that may have happened. But regardless, that as Onesimus walked back, there was this new sense in him. And his name means useful, bro. And I was like, how can a slave's name with all these issues name mean useful? And that's why the title is called I Am Onesimus. I am useful. It's an affirmation. It's putting myself in his chanclas and saying, you know, can I affirm myself? Can I affirm that I am useful despite my circumstance? And then that trek towards self-affirmation is saying, you know what? It's all right. It's all right. I'm ready to face the future no matter what, because Christ is enough. Christ is enough for me, regardless of my past, regardless of my situation. Christ is enough. Let's go. And that's essentially what the book is, dude. And it's an easy read. It's not that long. I wrote it intentionally short because of the fact that most of the people that I engage with have short attention spans. So I knew that people that were going to read it didn't know Christ. And I knew that if I got their attention, you know, I wanted them to engage. And the book it's not a very like churchy book. Like I have friends that don't know Christ. I go, oh, but it's that church book. I'm like, actually, bro, you'd be surprised how I wrote it. I think you would be engaged because I intentionally thought about a diverse audience of people, especially those that don't know Christ. And just getting to that place of saying, how can I affirm my usefulness? How can I affirm what God called me to do? And to affirm the gifts God has given me, and to say that, you know what, I am Onesimus too. There are times where I'm just like him and I mess up and I run away from my problems and I make mistakes, but I am reminded that Jesus is with me and Jesus is enough, that I am useful and I can walk and face any situation and it's going to be all right.
Oh man, you know, and it's a story, man, that I think that it's not that long, no es muy largo, la
Mm-mm.
historia,
No.
pero es una historia que también habla de oportunidades, opportunities,
Yes.
y todos nosotros en un momento u otro vamos a cometer errores. We're going to make mistakes.
Yes.
Y qué bonito saber de que, man, I still get a second opportunity. Todavía tengo otra oportunidad. Because Paul le está diciendo, hey, dale otra oportunidad.
Yes.
Si te robó algo, hey, you know
Yes.
what? Don't worry about it. Like,
Yes.
recíbelo otra vez más, right?
That's
Like,
exactly right.
Even charge to my account, like charge
Bro,
me.
don't get me started, bro. Don't get me started, man.
Pero but it's like the second opportunity, te da la oportunidad. Y muchas personas a veces necesitan esa segunda oportunidad, tercera oportunidad, cuarta oportunidad. Porque hemos fallado, hemos cometido errores, no hemos, things don't come out the way that we want to. No sale como pensábamos. Pero me alegra saber de que how you tie it to like, man, tal vez si dejo esto, can it still be useful? Y me puede usar Dios. Y la respuesta es, yeah,
yes.
Dios te puede seguir usando. Tal vez en un espacio de una manera diferente,
Yes.
una manera distinta, but he can still continue using you, man. But
right.
we're just so excited about that. And si usted no tiene el libro, you haven't got the book, read the book, guys. It's a very short book, como dijo Pastor Sammy. No es muy largo. No es una concordancia. You can read it pretty fair, pretty easy. Y lo puede leer en un día. Y yo sé que va a ser de bendición para ustedes. Also, también tienes una website. Talk to us about your website. Si la gente quiere saber más acerca de tu persona, de tu libro, hay una website and there's a podcast. Háblanos acerca del podcast y que pueden encontrar su website. Lo vamos a poner la website de Pastor Sammy, donde usted puede ir y informarse más acerca de él y todos los recursos que él tiene para ustedes. But talk to us about your website, your podcast, and what people can find.
Yeah. What's interesting that I found about the story of Onesimus is the other side of the coin is Paul. Like exactly you were saying, when he says, pay it to my account. And we get, I was talking about incarnation, right? And we were talking about like integrity in the marketplace and, our actions. And when he says, pay it to my account, he is putting into action exactly what Jesus did on the cross for us. And I remember when was it, last Easter, I think Pastor Escamilla was talking about the telestai. And so Pastor Jose, if you're listening, I heard you, bro. I heard you. I was paying attention. And he was talking about tetelestai, about paying it to my account. He paid it all. And there was a connection there. So it's the story about Onesimus, but also Paul actually putting into practice what he believed. And it's an example of what Christ did on the cross. So I just the preacher in me had to just get that out real quick.
No, get it out, man. Get it out.
So you asked me about the website. So I wanted just people to get to know me better because, just how I am. So the website came again, I wanted people just to know who I was. And so on the website, you can get a link to the book. And so like, if you go on Kindle, like you can get the book. I'm trying to pull it up, but it looks, I don't know if you can see that. I probably not. But anyway, it's on my Kindle and it's like $1.99 if you want digital. And then it's like $4 or $5 for the paperback. So if you go on Amazon, I don't know if anyone can see that, but if you go on Amazon, it's there. So when you go to my website, I have a link and you just click on the link. It takes you to Amazon and you just choose si lo quiere en Kindle, si lo quiere paperback. También ahí con el podcast, lo que hice fue que I wanted to make the book a conversation starter. So para la iglesia que tienen small groups or tú sabes, escuela dominical or whatever you have in tu iglesia que you have like these conversations, I wanted the book to be a conversation. There's a lot of room for conversation. So lo que hice en el website, yo tengo como 4 o 5 PDFs de cada, like de diferentes temas gratis. So tú puedes download el PDF y hay como 3 o 4 preguntas para que si tú tienes un small group, pueden tener, tú sabes, conversación, see where so if you're a leader, you just, navigate where people go. Yo hablé con alguien sobre el libro y querían hablar de social justice. Y con otra persona querían hablar de self-worth. And, the conversations went different ways depending on the people. So el podcast es como un setup para hacerlo un grupo pequeño. And so you have a free PDFs and you have a free podcast. It's like 4 or 5 episodes. They're like 10 minutes long, where I tell you a little bit more about the book, and I go a little bit more in depth. So you can, if you have the book, you can go to the website, you can download the PDFs for free, and you can listen to the podcast for free. The links are there if you like to listen on like on Amazon or Apple. I got like a bunch of platforms, and it all works together, so that not only can you have like your own personal time to, you know, to read it, but you can also have conversations with people, and that's all available on the website. And I just wanted to put a place all together so people can access it.
No, man, and it's so good. You know what, Sammy, it's so, so good that you have, tienes todos esos recursos para las iglesias.
Yes.
I think that para los pastores, pastoras, líderes, y no es solamente para, vender libros, right? It's not
Right.
that, pero es buenos recursos para los jóvenes adultos.
Yes.
Por favor, miren, nuestras iglesias están llenas o están siendo llenas de jóvenes adultos que muchas veces las estadísticas están ahí, pastores, pastoras, líderes, iglesias, ustedes saben las estadísticas, que muchos de ellos se alejan de la congregación por varios años y luego regresan cuando tienen hijos, ellos se disfrutan y luego no quieren que sus hijos se disfruten. Right? That's like my whole point. Nos vamos a alejar de la iglesia y vamos a regresar cuando seamos un poco más serios. Y hay iglesias que están perdiendo jóvenes. Look into this book, mire estos libros, porque muchas de las razones que tal vez los jóvenes se alejan de las congregaciones porque piensan de que no hay oportunidad después de cometer errores. O decir, no, pues ya la congregación sabe lo que hice, o mis amigos saben lo que hago, o tal vez me siento mal, me siento avergonzado. Maybe I'm a little bit ashamed de la vida que estoy viviendo. Y decirles, hey, mira, aquí hay un libro de alguien que cometió un error, pero según encuentra gracia y oportunidad, estúdialo. Y maybe it's a young adult book, pero también como adultos, léanlo. Yo sé que lo va a bendecir de una manera grande. El hecho de que tenemos una guía para seguir el diálogo después de que lo leamos es otro recurso que está a su disposición. So, man, take advantage, aproveche eso. No es mucho el costo. Thank you. Y yo no sé que Pastor Sammy lo ha puesto a un precio que es cómodo para que nosotros podamos, buy and use. So thank you so much for that. But also, we want to take a shout out. Les queremos decir gracias a your wife, Pastor Hilda está ahí and holding it down, man. Thank you, Hilda, por que sabemos de que este proceso no ha sido un proceso solo. That I know that she's been there and te ha ayudado mucho. And that kind of leads me to the question que cuando nosotros pasamos en un proceso de tal vez soledad, que tal vez no estamos bien, ¿qué tan importante es tener un grupo de personas a nuestro alrededor? To be by our side, to help us through that process. Que no nos juzguen, pero que nos ayuden. And what did you guys learn? ¿Qué aprendieron as a couple during this process?
Wow, bro, that's a great question. We're still learning, to be honest with you. And I'm not trying to be cliche, but we're still learning about ourselves through all this, because we realize how much of our relationship got sacrificed too. So we're still learning. The healing process includes both of us. The time, I don't want to say the time that we lost. I know that sounds bad, but it's that time that we felt we didn't have for each other. And now it's like the intentionality has risen that much more. So to just make sure that we're, in essence, we're almost like relearning parts of each other, or parts that we didn't know. And we're 18 years in, bro. Like, we've been married 18 years, and of those 18 years, 11 were at the church.
Yeah.
And, so more than half of our marriage was doing ministry, on the ground. And so for us, we're just learning and learning and learning and learning more and going through this process together. We've had so many conversations, bro, serious conversations, and about what, as individuals, like me as a person, like what I need to heal and what she needs to heal. And then together, how can we help each other and support each other? Like right now, I'm like, Hilda, What can I do to support you?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm
So
saying? Like,
good.
what
Yeah,
do
no,
you, what
absolutely.
do
Hands
you
down.
need? Right. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, I'm
Yeah.
going to
Hands
her. I'm
down.
like, what do you need right now? You know, what are your aspirations? I've known that she has ministerial operations. I say, año atrás, bro, that I've known. And I'm like, you know, babe, it's time. Is that what you feel God is calling you to do? How can I support you? You've supported me so much. It's your turn. What do you need? Where do you need to go? I'm going to go with you. Those are the conversations. And that's where we're at right now in our marriage. So, and then I say that in a positive way, right?
Yeah,
I'm saying
absolutely.
everything
Hands
in a
down.
positive light. So we're continuing to learn, we're continuing to journey together, you know, and when we get stuck, we work it through, and when we continue to figure out how to journey together to the next level. So, and it's important, bro. We've learned a lot about what we would do different
Yeah.
if we were to do it all over again. And the list is long. The
Yeah.
list is
You
very
know,
long.
I no man, and I think that there's so much more that we can talk about, like the
Yeah,
fact
man.
that you have your head shiny right now. We could talk about that.
Yeah.
But no, just podemos hablar de muchas cosas. Pero te queremos decir, man, te amamos, honestly,
Thank you, bro.
te amamos, te amamos. Yo sé de que muchas personas fueron bendecidas por ti en diferentes etapas. You know,
Amen.
I know it. You bless just so many people. Y tu alcance no es acortado. Like, it hasn't stopped. Like, your reach is going to get just so much bigger, bro.
Thank you, bro. That
For
means a lot
that,
to me.
and we keep on praying for you. We keep on praying for your family. Oramos
Yes.
por ti, por your girls. God
Thank
bless
you.
you, brother,
Yeah.
and that whole process.
Yeah.
You know, the niñas and the whole thing. And God bless your Pastor Hilda. Thank you so much. For your dedication, just la dedicación que han tomado para el servicio de la obra hispana, de just different people. You know, estábamos hablando de que, you know, my boys got to meet you. You know, a couple of years ago, tenían 7, 6 años, or 5 or 6, y ahora they're 16 and 14. And I would love to have you with us again, man. You know, because you
I
can
would
just
love
bring
that.
so much. Puedes traer tantas cosas. So, Obra Hispana, les amamos a ustedes. Les queremos recordar otra vez más. La asamblea de la Obra Hispana es julio 21 y 22 de este año en Fort Worth, Texas. La registración ya está abierta. Y déjenme solamente, before que nos vayamos, solo déjenme dejarles saber lo que es la registración. Mire, tenemos registración. El costo de la registración es $79. $79 para adultos 30 en adelante. Para los jóvenes adultos de 18 a 30 y seminaristas, el costo es de $59. Los jóvenes de 12 a 17, el costo es $49. Y luego de niños de 5 a 11 años, el $29. Por favor, aproveche el tiempo de registrarse. La registración es baja. Sabemos que todo lo que ha pasado puede traer un poco de tensión financiera, y queremos ayudar a todas las personas que están interesadas en asistir a la asamblea a poder asistir. So, por favor, regístrese. Queremos tener ese tiempo de bendición en el mes de julio, y yo sé que va a salir completamente diferente. Estamos creando y estamos trabajando bajo el tema iglesia de impacto. Queremos ser una iglesia de impacto, y Dios nos ha llamado a impactar nuestras ciudades, familias, lugares de trabajo, como escuchamos hoy esta mañana con el pastor Sammy, de traer ese impacto a los lugares donde trabajamos. So, regístrese, por favor. Yo sé que va a ser de mucha bendición. Y antes de quedar despedidos, Sammy, is there anything else? ¿Hay algo más que te gustaría compartir con la obra hispana, con la gente que está viendo o que va a ver el programa? Any last words, bro, that you can give us que nos puede animar para seguir adelante?
I would say a todos los pastores, affirm your usefulness. Affirm your usefulness on this day. You are not a mistake. You are not an accident. You were created with intention and with love and with purpose. And in those moments that you and I both know that we don't feel like we're making a difference, May today be a day where God tells us you are useful.
Yeah.
And that's what I would say to all of our pastors, our churches, our leaders. You talk about young adults, bro. I think about young adults all the time. And, you know, in 2013, when we were together in California, we were doing we were doing spiritual gift inventory, and these young people was talking about how they didn't know that they can use their gifts in the church. So many of them didn't feel allowed. And when they took their inventories, they saw that all these gifts that they had. And let me tell you, at that moment, I was celebrating and I was sad. I was celebrating because we have amazing, amazing young people with amazing gifts that can do amazing kingdom impact. And it made me sad that we are not putting them to use. So to our young people and young adults, I'm here to tell you, and I know Pastor Sam will tell you the same, and look in the eyes to say that you are useful.
Yeah.
Your gifts are useful and can make a difference. And all of our pastors, keep your head up. Pa'lante, you were created with purpose.
Oh, so good, man. I think I'm gonna make a shirt que dice pa'lante.
Pa'lante, yeah, pa'lante.
You know, thank you so much, Sammy, for being with us.
Bro.
Obra Hispana, muchas gracias por estar con nosotros este viernes. Los esperamos el próximo viernes, donde traemos otra vez más una plática que los va a inspirar, los va a empoderar y los va a dar herramientas para seguir adelante, hacer el ministerio. Sigamos orando por nuestra pastora Lori, que se encuentra en un tiempo de recuperación, pero pronto estará ella con nosotros otra vez más. Ella les manda su amor, sus saludos, sus abrazos, y créame de que ella está orando siempre y constantemente por la obra hispana y por ustedes. So, Dios me los bendiga. Tengan un buen fin de semana, pastores, iglesias, líderes, hermanos que están viendo, que Dios los use de una manera grande y poderosa este domingo en sus servicios. Que Dios se mueva de una manera increíble. Young people, may God use you in a mighty, mighty way as well. So esperamos de que como congregación, como familia de fe, Dios nos use de una manera excelente y maravillosa. So, Dios me los bendiga, que Dios me los guarde y nos vemos el próximo viernes otra vez más para seguir aprendiendo. Bendiciones y disfrute de este día. Amén.